Vance, and I lead global community programs at Stellar.org, which is a nonprofit that backs a financial network for the world. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to work full-time at Stellar for the past year. And I'm also a freelance writer on issues of tech and social justice. And prior to that, joining Stellar, I worked with them as a publishing house. And I'm really excited to talk to all of you tonight about building a stellar world and unlocking the future for millions of women. I can remember wanting to go to college so badly that I was literally counting down the days until I could get to university. And this started when I was about 11. And my home was never very financially secure, but I knew if I could just make it to 18 and get myself to college, I would be just fine. And I wasn't really worried about the academics of getting into college. I could really see this future for myself where I could live this intellectual, creative life, but I did worry how on earth I was going to pay for it, because I didn't have a trust fund or even really a piggy bank fund. But I was born in the United States, so I was able to apply for and receive a student loan, which let me go to college. Our perception on debt here in the US tends to skew fairly negatively. We tend to think of it as something that produces a lot of anxiety and stress, and even something kind of predatory. But when you look at how restricted access to credit is in much of the world, the opportunity to take out a loan is actually an opportunity to independently better your own life. So when I do look at my account balance and I see that it's negative, I'm not going to stand here and say that I'm happy about that, but I do feel grateful. Because yes, I worked hard to get my degree, and I worked hard to get through college, and I'm working hard now to pay it off. But my counterparts in the developing worlds, like a young woman who wants nothing more than to go to college and better her life, she doesn't get that chance. This is Georgina, and she's 22 years old, and she dreamed of being a teacher and going to school to learn those skills. And I joined Stellar because I believe that we can all give Georgina a fair chance. Right now, around the world, there are 2 billion people who are like Georgina and don't have access to basic financial services like the ability to get a loan, or savings, or even just the access to a debit card. So, what does it mean to not have a credit history? Without a credit history, you might as well be invisible. You can't go to college, you can't buy a house, you can't start a business, so you're invisible and you're stuck. So if 2 billion people worldwide don't have access to formal financial services, why are we focusing on women? Tonight I want to talk with you about the current state of how women interact with the global economy. I want to talk with you about some innovative hacks that people are using to get around barriers. And most importantly, I want to talk about how we can unlock the future of money together. So I'm going to make some claims about women and money tonight, and I want to be clear that these are well-researched claims backed by data from very respectable sources, like World Bank, Women's World Banking, things like that. The sources will be printed on the slides behind me, but if you do have any questions about them, please feel free to ask in the Q&A, and we can go into more details about the sources. So that said, women are awesome with money. According to data from Women's World Bank and World Bank, financially independent women are more likely to save money. And in fact, they save 90 cents of every dollar. They're also more likely to repay loans, which makes them a safer bet for lenders. And when women have financial decision-making power, they make equitable financial family decisions for their family. So this means that if a mom has a daughter and a son, she's going to choose to send both her daughter and her son to school, regardless of the perceived gap in earning potential. So as you might imagine, that results in more opportunity for the entire family. And women also tend to, when they make profits, invest those profits back into their family. So despite sort of common stereotypes and even our own self-perceptions, women are awesome at money. But this is actually in spite of the current state of the financial structures and how women interact with them. There are some systemic inequalities that hold women back that I want to go through tonight. So, women are far less likely to have access to credit. They're 20% less likely to have a formal bank account, and even informal finance is limited. So, for instance, in Kenya, 40% of small farms are run by women, but women get only 10% of the small loans or microcredit. There's this old quote that Ginger Rogers did everything that Fred Astaire did, but she did it backwards and wearing high heels. When it comes to the global economy, women are dancing backwards in 6-inch heels. Despite restrictions, they're still succeeding. So let's talk about what that looks like. Why are women excluded from accessing financial services at such a higher rate? I'm going to give you a rundown of some of the most widespread social and structural and legal issues that face women today. Please don't feel like you have to remember all of them, it's kind of a lot, but instead I just want you to imagine what the broader impact would be if all of these were stacked against you. In a lot of places, women need a male relative's permission to open an account, and even for accounts where the woman is ostensibly the account owner, many times the man actually has the decision-making power. And this is true, for instance, in Pakistan, where between 50 and 70% of loans that are on the books for women are actually solely used by another household member. In many countries, women's property rights are severely limited or completely non-existent, and this means that they have no collateral to offer up to get a loan. This is true in places like Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and Burkina Faso, just to name a couple of countries. In many countries, women aren't allowed to drive. And you might know that it's illegal for women to drive in, say, Saudi Arabia, but it actually can extend to places like the United Kingdom. So there's this place in North London, a religious sect called Stamford Hill, and they punish women who drive their kids to school by not letting those kids into the school. And this practice was stopped in June of this year. So up into 2015, these problems persist. And if you can't access physically a branch of a bank, you can't open an account. Another problem is that women tend to have less access to legal identification. So if you don't have a verifiable legal identity, again, you can't take out a loan or access credit. Another problem is just a general lack of access to education, and this is true in places pretty much all over the world, from India to Latin America to Central Asia. And one of the most problematic but also least talked about areas that's problematic for women is domestic financial abuse. So just to give you an idea of the scope of this problem, since maybe some folks haven't heard of it, 1 in 3 women worldwide experiences domestic abuse from an intimate partner. And of those relationships, 98% experience financial abuse. So it means withholding access to a bank account, denying access to money, things like that that just basically strip the woman of her control of her own finances. And the problem with this is it can prevent women, it can impact their entire family because it prevents women from being able to leave that relationship. So all of these factors stacked together and combined mean that women do not have the access that they need to crucial financial services. But I believe that we can unlock access for women, and I'm certainly not alone. Communities all over the world are figuring out workarounds and innovative hacks in order to give women access to these important services. One such way that communities get around restrictions is called microfinance. So microfinance is essentially lending very small amounts of money to entrepreneurs. And a little bit of history. Modern microfinance was started by Dr. Muhammad Yunus, and he is an economics professor in Bangladesh, and he experimented with lending to poor women in his village, a Bangladeshi village that was very small. And from there, it was so successful that the practice just grew, and now it's worldwide. And just for a little history, a little fun fact, that is Dr. Muhammad Yunus with Jed, our stellar co-founder, looking all excited. So I want to share with you a story of someone who actually used microfinance, just to show the kind of impact that this can have on a real person's life. So this is Debbie, and she's 29 and a proud owner of her own business. So Debbie is from Nepal, and she turned a small loan into a thriving beauty supply shop in just 3 years. And the amount of that loan was 15,000 rupees, which is $250 US. So with that small loan, she was able to get the confidence under her belt to get a second loan and then a third loan. And her latest venture is the chick business. So she raises chicks and sells them on the market for a profit. So Debbie was able to, with this very small loan, be able to achieve this dream that she'd always wanted to do her whole life. And it also opened up a new world to her. In Debbie's own words, when a woman owns a business, she's kept in the financial decision-making circle of the family. So this is awesome. But what about the other women in Debbie's village? And what about women all around the world? Is anyone able to get microfinance if they want to start a business? Data from the World Bank says that this is not the case. So 160 million people worldwide are served by this microfinance. I want to take a moment to say that that's amazing. 160 million is huge progress. But if you look at it as a slice of the world's 2 billion unbanked, that represents an incredible opportunity to reach millions and millions more. So how can we help these innovative solutions like microfinance scale so that they can reach women everywhere? Stellar helps microfinance, solutions like microfinance scale. So the Stellar Network is an open network for payments that lets you send and receive money, like email, for a fraction of a cent. So Stellar helps microfinance scale by lowering operating costs of banks and other lenders, enabling them to give more loans. And there's already growing excitement about how Stellar can help microfinance institutions thrive. In fact, a company called Arabian is currently using the Stellar Network to build software that helps these microfinance institutions, MFIs, transact with each other. So Arabian is piloting a program in Nigeria. And currently in Nigeria, if one of these microfinance institutions wants to send money to another one, and keep in mind this is business to business, not individuals, they literally put a pile of cash on a bus that looks something like that one, strap it in, drive 12 hours on an unarmed bus, and physically transfer the cash to that other organization. So obviously this is ineffective, it's expensive, it's risky, it's just not efficient. So Stellar Network can turn 12 hours into less than 5 seconds. The Stellar Network itself is also a boon for small businesses with its nearly non-existent fees, ease of international payments, and near instant transactions. And all of these benefits combined could be the necessary difference that makes a small female-owned business thrive. The Stellar Network, currently all you need to access it is an internet connection or a mobile connection, so it's very accessible for everyone. And we're working on ways to make it even more inclusive in order to reach people with feature phones or no phones at all. Stellar.org, the nonprofit that I work at, is also working on partnering with people who are able to reach across the digital divide, meaning people who don't have access to the internet right now. And it's crucial to unlock these people and be able to reach them in order to actually be truly inclusive. So right now, because of all these reduced barriers to entry partially, 35% of our user base is female. And if you can see the stat up there, that's compared to 4% of Bitcoin, which is another digital currency. We do hope to grow this number even further as we become more inclusive, but we're pretty proud of the 35 at the starting point. So how does Stellar actually work? I feel like I've talked a lot about the implications and the social good here, but this is a tech for good meetup. So I want to teach you a little bit about what's going on under the hood. Also cute pugs. So just so you know, this next bit is geared a little bit more towards the technical folks here. So if that's not your ish, don't worry about it, let it wash over you. It's not super important to get all the details. So at its most basic level, Stellar is just a decentralized peer-to-peer network. The network is open, free and accessible for absolutely anyone to use. So it lets you transact with any other user who's also on the Stellar network instantly and in any currency. So in practically speaking, what that means is that I can send Regina $10. She can receive that in £7 or whatever the current exchange rate is instantly and for free. So how does this work? It's magic. It is powered by multi-currency transactions that are enabled by the peer-to-peer marketplace that's actually baked right into the network at a protocol level. So users never have to worry about that exchange. The network consists of distributed, let me show you the next part. So I'm going to go over a bit of the architecture of just how this looks, because I feel like it can get to be a bit of a complicated arrangement. So the Stellar network itself consists of distributed, decentralized nodes that store an agreed-upon database. And the nodes stay in sync with each other. They kind of talk to each other and agree every 2 seconds. And the way they do this, without some authoritative node telling it what's the truth, they do this through an innovative consensus algorithm. And again, that lets them agree every 2 to 5 seconds. It's very quick. So what you see right there, the nodes, that is all the Stellar network is. Everything else is just users and apps and things built on top of the network. So Stellar is like the back-end infrastructure. So next up are gateways. And gateways accept deposits and record them in the system digitally. So any licensed money service can be a gateway. It could be a bank, a credit union, a local trusted village elder, mobile money provider. It doesn't really matter, whatever locally is your money service. So the next level up from that is users and services, and that's where you folks come in. Anyone can build a service off of this back-end infrastructure, like an app. So if you think that this looks suspiciously similar to how the internet works, you would absolutely be right. Because we need financial infrastructure to work more like the internet. I want you to take a minute and consider all of the accessibility and the progress that has happened for communication because of the internet. So the way you communicate with people worldwide, just person to person, it's instant and it's accessible and pretty much free for everyone. We want to bring that sort of accessibility that the internet enabled to finance. So as a Stellar developer, you can build apps that connect users to the larger Stellar network. And again, I just want to emphasize this, Stellar is back-end infrastructure, not the app or the service itself. So I've been talking a lot about how Stellar can unlock credit to underserved communities, but this worldwide financial network, couldn't that do other stuff? Absolutely. So Stellar unlocks potential for a ton of innovation. And these are just a couple of the things that Stellar can enable that were not possible before. Stellar unlocks cross-border payments, remittances. So that just means sending money from dollars to pounds across borders. So Joyce Kim, who's in the audience here, recently spoke at the United Nations about the current sort of broken state of remittances and how it can get better with Stellar. So just to give you an idea of what the remittance market looks like, the total volume last year in a single year was $582 billion. And again, single year. So just for reference, that's 4 times more than last year's foreign aid. So people sending each other just their own money, that's more than foreign aid. So the fees for these transactions, which is the problem, $44 billion were spent on fees last year. $44 billion that could have been kept in the pockets of people who need it. And again, for reference, that is 11 times the amount that the United States will spend on helping homelessness this year. It's a huge amount of money, and there's no need for it. So the Stellar network presents this huge opportunity to reduce transaction costs for people just trying to send their own money and keep more of their own money in their own pockets. The Stellar network can also enable savings accounts. So as we speak, actually, if you're curious about a real-world example again, there's a nonprofit in South Africa that's building apps that let girls and women save money right from their mobile phones. And for a lot of these girls, this will be the first time they've ever been able to save. The really cool part is that because of that multi-currency functionality I mentioned before, these girls are going to be able to save in mobile airtime minutes and local South African rand right from the same wallet. And because a lot of these girls haven't had savings before, there's actually proven benefits that come along with being able to save, including staying in school 1 year longer, better health outcomes, and more likelihood to participate in the global economy more fully when they do become adults. So yeah, it's a cool savings app, but it isn't just about savings. It's about improving these girls' lives for years to come. And Stellar also unlocks a network effect. So once you're on the Stellar network, you are instantly connected to every other bank, microfinance institution, mobile money provider, everyone, just with one log-on. So for developers, it's a single integration. And for users, it's a single account. So keeping all of this potential for global change in mind, what would a future with Stellar look like? It looks like full financial access for the 2 billion people worldwide who are currently excluded. It looks like people living longer lives and making more money. And it looks like my counterpart from the developing world, a young girl who wants nothing more than just to go to college and improve her own life on her own, being able to live her dream and do that. So what can all of us here in this room right now do to make this future happen, starting tonight? You have a chance to basically build these apps that are going to shape the future of of finance globally. So one way you can do that is contributing to Stellar's open source code base on GitHub. So you can go to stellar.org/developers and find sort of a little portal into it. And the code base itself is written largely in Go. There's also Ruby, C++, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. There's seriously something for everyone. So that's one way you can contribute. You could also build your own app or service on the network, including partnering with someone who's technical if you're non-technical, or vice versa. So as Quentin Farmer said, Quentin Farmer is a big Stellar fan who's been around since launch. He said that being one of the first to build on the Stellar network will one day feel like having been one of the first to figure out what to do with SMTP. And for folks who aren't super technical in the crowd, SMTP is what we use to power email. So what can you build on Stellar? Building on Stellar is essentially building apps that will shape the future of finance. And I want to emphasize that this has literally never been done before. And in fact, up to 6 years ago, top experts thought that this technology was literally impossible. So the reason that all these opportunities are here is that the tech is so new for these old problems. So you guys are all into social good and you're into tech. So I'm going to give you a couple of business ideas, and you are welcome to run with these and steal them and make millions of dollars and change the world. So, first thing, remittance app. So remittances are, again, sending money cross-border. And as we talked about, that market is incredibly huge. So there's 170 currencies worldwide, and we have to start somewhere. So where do we start? A good way to look at this is to analyze the current data on where money is flowing to and from recently and how it's been historically. So if we look at it, India has been one of the top receivers of remittances consistently over the past 10 years. And in fact, we received 70 billion last year alone. And one of the top senders to India is the United States. And if you think about it, this makes sense. A lot of folks come from India, work in the US, especially in the IT sector, and then send funds back home to their families. So the US sent nearly 12 billion in a single year to India. If I wanted to send $10 to India right now, it would cost me $2 to $3, again, out of $10, and it would take 2 to 3 days. If you were going to send this on Stellar, for $10, you could send it, even if you built in a fee to take in a little bit of profit for your business. You could make it sending $10 for 10 cents, and it would take just seconds. So you have this huge opportunity to beat out every competitor by miles and miles and still make an incredible social impact and let these hardworking just migrant workers keep more of their own money. So because I'm feeling extra nice tonight, I'm going to give you a second killer business idea. So this one is a mobile money app that makes mobile money interoperable with other mobile money systems, and local currency. So I'm going to explain what that means for folks who aren't familiar. Mobile money is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically financial services that happen right on your phone. So some of you actually might be familiar, technically, like, a Venmo could be mobile money. But more traditionally in the developing world, it looks like having a bank account on your phone and actually doing these services mostly from your phone. So one of the most commonly known ones that, how many people here have heard of M-Pesa in Kenya? Cool, okay, awesome. So that's one of the most commonly known ones, but there are actually a ton more. So if you look at this map, it's coded by color on how many mobile money services are in these low-income areas. So green is 1, 2 is red, 3 is purple, and the stars, of which there are only 4, that means that they're interoperable, which means that they can talk to each other. You can transfer really easily in and out without cashing out. So the problem is that there's only 4 stars in this super saturated market. They just can't talk to each other. So that means that even if M-Pesa works really well, say I have to withdraw from M-Pesa to send money to my school fees, I might end up paying 20% just to take out my own money. So that's where you come in. If you could build an app that let these systems talk to each other, that connected them and made them speak the same language, and even connected them to their local currencies, you could connect tons of burgeoning economies to each other, and you'd be the leader in this field. You would be the first. So again, it's a huge business opportunity, and it's also a huge social good impact. So I know that all of you, after seeing this, are super eager to get started on building apps that are going to change the world. So how do you get started? Where do you start from here? I would recommend jumping into our Slack channel. For those of you who don't know, Slack is just like a chat app. So joining our Slack channel at slack.stellar.org, where you can chat with folks who are technical and non-technical. All levels are welcome. There's also a bunch of different languages in there. But you would be able to chat with folks who are also interested in building this sort of financial goods service on Stellar. You can also come to a meetup tomorrow in case you just have not gotten your meetup fix. There's a meetup tomorrow night at 6:30 at New Relic, where the developers who built this network are going to share like the design decisions behind it and how the network works in very great technical detail and how you can start building on it. So that's one way. You can also just come talk to me. I would love to come chat with you. I'm very friendly, I promise. So if you don't feel comfortable asking questions in the Q&A, please just come chat with me or send me an email. So one way or another, I hope that you join me in building a more inclusive, accessible world. A world where it doesn't matter what your gender is or where you're from. Let's build something stellar.